You are not broken. You never were. But your mind has been hijacked. Hijacked by forces older than you can imagine. Education systems, outdated philosophies, even the quiet words of your parents who unknowingly passed down the virus of limitation. You were not born to be poor. You were trained to think like a poor man. I discovered this truth over a century ago, and I paid the price for it. Because when you tell the world that poverty is a program, you become a threat. But you're here now, listening, which means you've begun to wake up, to hear the whisper that echoes inside all great minds before they rise. It's the same whisper that once visited Barnes when he said, "I will partner with Edison." The same whisper that came to Carnegie, Ford, Rockefeller. Only a few hear it. The masses are asleep. But the hero hears, even if the world calls him crazy. If you feel something stirring right now, a slight discomfort, or a strange sense of familiarity, that's because you are that hero, and this is your call. You were not made for a life of quiet struggle. You were made to create, to expand, to grow rich, not just in money, but in mind, spirit, and destiny. But before you rise, you must see what has kept you down. You must face the code that was written into your mind long before you had a choice. The code that says, stay small, be realistic. Don't dream too big. That is not your voice. That is the voice of your jailer. This is not a motivational video. This is an intervention, because you, my friend, are standing at the beginning of a journey, the same journey that every great man and woman walked, before the world called them genius. Before every rise, there is a life lived in sleep, a life where you work, but you don't build. You consume, but you don't create. You survive, but you don't live. This is the world you were taught to call normal, a world where dreaming is dangerous, where risk is reckless, and wealth reserved for others. You were raised in a prison, but it had no bars. Its walls were made of words. They told you money is the root of all evil. Play it safe. Just be grateful you have a job. Rich people are selfish. You're not one of them, and you believed them because those voices were trusted. Your teachers, your parents, your pastors, your mentors, they meant well. But they were programmed too. In outwitting the devil, I exposed this force. I called it the devil, not a creature with horns, but the voice of fear, distraction, and conformity. The devil doesn't steal your soul. He bores it to death. He makes you drift, aimless, passive, programmed. He shows up as your scrolling addiction, as your fear of rejection, as that tiny voice that says, don't even try. And the more you listen, the more you forget who you were meant to be. Until one day you wake up, working a job you hate, living a life you didn't design, wondering why success never knocked. But here's what they didn't tell you. Deep down, you know this isn't right. You feel it, that discomfort, that pull, that unspoken frustration. It's not laziness. It's your real self trying to wake up, the part of you that was made to lead, to build, to rise, to grow rich in spirit and form. Why do the truly wealthy think differently? Because they were taught or they discovered that the rules of the masses are lies. They read what others won't. They say what others fear. They feed their minds while others poison theirs. The world you call normal is a cleverly designed illusion, a system built to reward obedience, not originality. It doesn't want you to think like Carnegie or Ford. It wants you to consume their legacy while doubting your own. That's not an accident. That's programming. Every hero must meet a guide, someone who has walked through the fire and returned with the map. For me, that map was written over 25 years of interviews with more than 500 of the wealthiest and most powerful minds in the world. Men like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, and Alexander Graham Bell. What they taught me was never printed in newspapers. It was not taught in schools because it was dangerous. Dangerous not because it harms, but because it liberates. And power hates a free mind. So I wrote it down, page by page, principle by principle, until it became a book called Think and Grow Rich. Not a get-rich-quick guide, not a business manual, but a system of mental reprogramming designed to turn ordinary men into giants. I didn't write it to entertain you. I wrote it to arm you, to give you the tools to break the code that was written into your mind without your permission, because you weren't born with poverty, you were taught it, conditioned, installed with thoughts that never belonged to you. And I knew if they could be installed, they could be uninstalled. Inside this book are 13 principles. Each one is a tool, a command, a mental software designed to replace fear with faith, confusion with clarity, scarcity with creation. Barnes used it. His burning desire and crystal clear purpose rewrote his destiny. Henry Ford used it when the world laughed at his dream of a horseless carriage. Even Thomas Edison, who was labeled slow in school, used these principles to invent over 1,000 things and reshape the modern world. And yet, most people who pick up the book never unlock it because they treat it like inspiration, not like activation. But you're different. You've come this far not by accident, but because something in you is ready. You don't need more motivation. You need new commands. You don't need a better job. You need a better image of yourself. You don't need to find opportunity. You need to become the kind of mind that attracts it. This is the threshold. Beyond it lies a new world. But only if you're willing to think in a way you were never taught to think. And the first key is this: all thoughts are seeds. And whatever you plant in the mind will grow. Desire is not a wish. It's a commandment to the universe. Edwin C. Barnes didn't just want to work with Edison. He decided to, with no money, no status, and no invitation. Think of desire like fire. When it's weak, it warms. When it's wild, it burns. But when it's focused, it powers empires. The world bends to those who refuse to settle. Faith is not hoping. It's building the future in the dark. Walt Disney built Disneyland while bankrupt because he saw it first in his mind. Faith is when no one believes, and you build anyway. It's when your bank says no, but your vision says keep going. The mind obeys belief, not evidence. Your brain is programmable. The question is, who's doing the programming? When Muhammad Ali said, "I am the greatest," he wasn't boasting. He was installing a reality. Autosuggestion is repetition with emotion. It's not affirmation. It's self-hypnosis on purpose. What you say in your head, you become. General knowledge is noise. Specialized knowledge is leverage. Bill Gates didn't master everything. He mastered software. Jeff Bezos mastered distribution. Oprah mastered emotional connection. The world doesn't pay for what you know. It pays for what you've refined. The poor use imagination to relive fear. The rich use it to construct visions. J.K. Rowling imagined Harry Potter on a train ride, broke, unemployed, and rejected. Imagination is your private laboratory. It's where you test ideas before the world ever sees them, and if you can't picture it, you'll never possess it. A goal without a plan is a hallucination. Imagine trying to build a skyscraper with no blueprint. That's how most people approach wealth. Desire ignites, planning directs, one without the other. That's chaos. Don't chase goals, engineer them. Every time you hesitate, you surrender power. The wealthiest people decide quickly, adjust slowly. The poor decide slowly, adjust constantly. Decisions cut through confusion. They define identity. When you say, "This is who I am now," the world begins to shift around you. Most people quit at 40%, but wealth, it begins at 90%, where everyone else gave up. Howard Schultz was rejected by 217 investors before someone said yes to Starbucks. Persistence is the muscle of champions. It's not sexy. It's not loud, but it outlasts everything. While others sleep, you repeat, you rise or fall by who you speak to every day. When Steve Jobs met Steve Wozniak, the world got Apple. When Andrew Carnegie met Charles Schwab, his empire scaled 10 times. Success is not just what you know, it's who sharpens your edge. Want to think like a millionaire? Stop talking to drifters. Your energy matters. Sexual energy is raw power, creation at its core. History's greatest men knew how to redirect this energy from pleasure into production. Tesla, Newton, Da Vinci. They didn't waste their energy chasing dopamine. They channeled it into ideas, inventions, and legacies. Desire is divine. Master it, or be mastered by it. Your subconscious is always listening, but it doesn't understand sarcasm. It doesn't judge. It simply executes. Feed it confusion, you'll get chaos. Feed it clarity, and it becomes your soldier. You don't need to control the world. You only need to control your programming. Your brain is a transmitter, like a radio tower. When you think rich, you tune into rich ideas. When you think fear, you miss the signal. Ideas are flying through the air every second. Only tuned minds catch them. This is not mysticism, it's instinct, earned through preparation. Hill called it the guardian angel of the mind, that inner voice you've ignored for years. When all principles align, the sixth sense whispers, not loud, not forced, but accurate. It is the final unlock, only revealed to the disciplined. You have now walked through 13 portals, each one reshaping not just your mind, but your destiny. Now, you are no longer the same, not because you earned $1 million, not because the world clapped, but because you finally saw that you were never broken. The chains were never physical, they were thoughts, and now they're gone. You don't just think differently. You are different. You no longer wait to be chosen. You no longer fear what others think. You no longer chase. You attract. You wake up with purpose. You walk with certainty. You speak with vision. And deep inside, you feel a calm power that no one gave you, because it was always yours. This is the real wealth, not numbers in a bank, but sovereignty of mind. Because once your thoughts obey you, everything else does too. What you called failure was training. What you called weakness was resistance breaking down. What you thought was the end was the threshold to a new beginning. The old you asked for permission. The new you writes his own rules. The old you waited. The new you decides. The old you reacted. The new you creates. You are no longer the orphan. You are the architect, the king of your own kingdom, the master of your mental estate. You were taught to live like a servant, but you were born to reign. And now, you remember, you don't try to succeed. You operate from success. You don't wish to be wealthy. You expect it, because your mind is calibrated for it. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. There's a stillness in you now, and from it, all things move. No more chaos, no more confusion, only clarity and command. You have planted the seeds: desire, faith, purpose, persistence. You have silenced the voices of doubt. You have tuned your mind into wealth, wisdom, and will. And now, you walk as one who knows. But the journey doesn't end here, because every hero, once transformed, must return, not to fit in, but to lead. The world that once broke you now needs you. You return now to the same world that once told you who to be. But you are not the same. You walk the same streets, talk to the same people, face the same challenges, but nothing touches you the same way, because you are not reacting. You are responding with intention, with vision, with control. This is the true reward, not money, not applause, but mastery. You now carry the greatest wealth a man can possess, a mind that serves you, not enslaves you. And with that, you become a rare breed, a quiet storm, a calm force in a chaotic world. The men I studied, the ones who shaped industries, built empires, and left legacies that still echo, they were not lucky. They were aware. They knew the code. They followed it. They lived it. And now, so do you. Now the question is, what will you do with it? Will you go back to comfort? Or will you rise to responsibility? Because there are others, just like you once were, confused, drifting, asleep, and they need what you now hold. You don't have to preach. You don't have to prove. Just embody, live the code, speak with clarity, move with power, and let your results awaken those still dreaming. From this day forward, you no longer wait for life to choose you. You choose it. You are no longer a product of environment. You are the designer of it. You are no longer a prisoner of thought. You are the programmer. If you made it this far, it means you're part of a small group of people who are willing to evolve, no matter the cost. You're not here by accident. Very few have the discipline to go all the way. Even fewer face their own reflection and choose to change. You're one of them. Type activated in the comments. So I know you didn't just hear this message. You received it at the deepest level. And if this spoke to you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Not for me, but for the next message that might unlock the next level of your mind.